Jason, what do you think of when you think of summer in Nova Scotia for food? Mhm. Smoked salmon. Okay. Yeah, you are. You're highbrow. So for me, and those are all good choices, but for me, it's this. It's lobster, Nova Scotia lobster, and in particular, lobster rolls. What I'm going to make today. Now, the recipe that we're going to do today is, it's a lobster roll any way you cut it, but there are a few, hey, dare I say, slightly chefy little twists that we're going to do. We're not going to do straight mayonnaise and lemon. We're going to make something called the sauce Mary Rose, which is a really classical European, mostly English cocktail sauce. Goes really well with shrimp, but also goes with lobster. We're going to add a little bit of fresh herb to it, and I'll even show you how to clean one of these canner lobsters. Now, most people are going to have lobster sort of more in this form. You can buy it pre-cooked and with little bits, claws, knuckles, etc. This is perfectly fine for a lobster roll. I like it a bit chunky, so what I'll often get are some tails, and I will cut these up into slightly larger chunks to really showcase the lobster. And you can also certainly get them this way, cooked lobster. I think most people will usually make lobster rolls with leftovers, or they'll go out and purchase this. But if you have a lobster in this form, I'll show you quickly how to clean that up. Um, so you basically twist and remove the tail, and then open it up slightly, give it a squeeze, so you hear that crunch, and then using your fingers, the inside, you sort of open it up like an envelope, and you pluck out the tail. Okay, so that's the tail. Now inside here, uh, if you peel this back, you'll often see the intestine, which you peel out comme ça, and you discard that. So that is perfectly beautiful meat that we'll chop up. Then when you want to get to the claw and the legs, you can remove those by simply twisting them off. I actually use a little spoon, which I'll grab momentarily, but I'll show you how to do the claws first. Very, very well. I wore an apron. I'm smart. You didn't. Okay, so claws. Here's a little trick. So inside there's a piece of cartilage that sort of looks like a feather, and that's what allows it to open and close. But what we want to do is get that out of there. So the biggest way is you twist one way and break it the other to remove that, and then pull that off. So that little piece, the feather is still in here. So now you turn it not this way, but on this direction on the top, crack down, give it a twist, pull it apart, and then inside of here is that little feather. Now, sometimes you're lucky enough to pull it out all in one go, and other times you have to do a little bit of digging. In this case, there's that cartilage that you don't want. You just described it. So, and then the knuckles, the claws, I usually grab a teaspoon, and it's quite convenient actually, just use it like that. And then you can grab one of these, go inside, and easily just pluck it out one little beautiful chunk. So you do that with every little piece, and you will typically get, a good 3 ounces of meat out of a very small lobster like this. And that's a perfect amount for a really nice, healthy um, lobster roll. So what we'll do now is just to quickly get cleaned up and bring it all back. We'll make the dressing. I'll show you how to put it together. So let's, just before we mix everything, Jason, let's talk about buns. Now, for a lobster roll, you're going to see this as more the traditional bun. New England style hot dog bun, top cut with straight sides. And the reason the straight sides are so important is because we want to actually crisp these up like you would a good cheeseburger. But to get that beautiful crispness on the outside, but then it heats the bun all the way through, but it's still soft inside. That's what we want. However, they're very irregular when you buy them sort of as a hot dog bun, and they're a little small, and they often tear. So I usually go to another more of a sub bun type. Here's a couple of different options. There's one with sesame. Here's more of a milk bun. Now this is what I like to use. What I do is I grab a serrated knife and I will trim these up. I'll use the ends for croutons for salad or just make breadcrumbs with them so I don't waste anything. But what I want to do is I'm trying to get really, really, really straight sides so I can really crisp it up and caramelize that bread. So I'm making my own English or New England style bun and then come down with the top cut. Now, the other thing you can do here, if you really want to, and I used to do this, uh, depending on the size of the portion that we were serving, because we often did, you could have 3 ounce ones, you could have 4, 5, 6 ounce ones. Is I would simply create a little wedge cut, almost like making a sub. So now you have a split, but you also have a wedge, so you can actually put more in it. Okay, so now we're going to grab some soft butter and nice, nice, generous little spread of butter on both sides. And that will go into a not too hot pan and start to fry up. Beautiful. We can just leave that there. We might have to monitor it slightly because that is sounds to me like that's a little hotter than I wanted it, but we'll just keep an eye on it. That's okay. All right, so just move this aside and we will mix up our lobster filling. So again, we talked about, so this is knuckle and claw meat. I put some of the meat that I took out of that whole lobster and put that in there. I'm also going to, just remove these crumbs, I'm going to take one of these lobster tails. And again, remember I talked about how I like a few really beautiful chunks in here. So be generous with it. You want bite-sized pieces that are like that you can really sink your teeth into. After all, this is showcasing some of the best of Nova Scotia, so we want to do really our best job. Uh, I usually go minimum 3 ounces of meat in one. Um, you can go 3.5 or 4. So let's make a good size one here today. Check our bun, and you can see we're starting to get that beautiful caramelization there. Okay, so I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to turn that off, and that residual heat will be all we need to finish that. Okay, now what are we going to put in it? Well, this is where the sauce Mary Rose comes. And all that sauce Mary Rose is mayonnaise, ketchup, and a few other little seasonings. So we're going to start off with a squirt of mayonnaise. You can eyeball it. You can make a bigger batch of this and sort of fold it in. But I'm going to do about a tablespoon and a half of mayonnaise, and maybe a half teaspoon to maybe a half teaspoon of ketchup. Nope. Oh my God, ketchup. Are you serious? What are you doing? But I'm telling you, it works. Lemon juice. Very, very important. Get some lemon juice in. Well, I think that acidity, especially with lobsters, it's a rich meat, and it just goes really well. So, and it's often served with butter, another rich, fatty, coat your mouth. So that lemon acidity sort of breaks down that fat, and it actually allows flavors to develop, come through. What else are we putting in here? A little bit of hot sauce, definitely necessary. You can also do a pinch of cayenne. I like some hot sauce in it. A couple of drops of Worcester sauce, very important. Cracked pepper. There we go. Now you're not necessarily going to need a lot of salt, especially if you cook your lobster. If you cook yourself, I cook it in salted water. But I think these lobsters were actually steamed. They were not salted, so we're okay to put a little bit of salt in there. Now, last two elements in here, for the sauce anyway, fresh chives. I don't like raw onion in mine, but I do like chive in it. And here's my little personal twist, fresh tarragon. Works really well with so many seafood dishes. I think it works really well here. So just a touch of fresh tarragon, freshly chopped. And that's going to go in there. Mix that through. Vegetables. Well, you can put anything you want. Celery for me is essential. But I go right to the middle of the head of celery to get the heart. And these leaves, so you want that really sort of light green, limey color in the middle, not the really woody dark green outer stalks of the celery. Inside is really where it's sweeter, and you get those leaves, and that adds another almost like a fresh celery herb vibe to your salad. Well, I don't think that you would typically get people going right to them. I think they're going to use whatever they have. So if they have celery, one stalk of celery left, they might just take it no matter what. But if you have the time to save the inner stalk when you get celery, use the outer stalks for your soup or your stalks or whatever. Making a stew, that's fine. But save those little outer, or so the inner ones, especially with the leaves, and they're fantastic in any salad. Tuna salad works great. Chicken, even ham salad. Or you can just chop it up and put it in any salad. So as we work this together, this is where the rose comes in. The rose color works really well. Now, a lot of people will put, again, cucumber in here. I like cucumber with lobster. I don't often put it in the salad because it will start to leach too much of the water and it'll water down the dressing. So if you're going to put cucumber with it, I would typically put it along the inside of it. Okay, so that is my core lobster salad. I'm actually going to take 2 seconds and test for salt and pepper. Definitely doesn't need salt. I would do pepper though. Pepper can't hurt. All right, and you can feel that rain coming, can't you, brother? So, good news is we're ready to assemble. So, here is our, look at that color. That's perfect. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so now that we've got a larger cradle, I've got some lovely bib lettuce that we can just put in the inside here. Extra crunch helps cradle that meat. And then you just pile it as high as you dare. Lots of big chunks. I think a bad lobster roll is skimpy on the lobster, poorly seasoned, and often maybe too much bread for the amount of lobster you're given. Generosity, Nova Scotia hospitality, that's what's key here. I even go so far as to make sure I get a little claw, a splash of bread right on top. So that, to me, is a beautiful Nova Scotia lobster roll done my way. Hope you like it. Give it a try. Don't be afraid of ketchup. People always poo-poo ketchup in good cooking, but it's a lovely acidic little element that often adds color and that back vibe. You're never going to taste ketchup in that. You're going to taste lemon, lobster, mayonnaise, fresh herb, but that ketchup actually does bring it all together in the end. So give it a try, bro. Let's do it.